Hello, hello everyone. Welcome to our workshop with myself and Lou. How are you, Lou?
I'm doing well, thank you. Greetings from the USA. Okay, so welcome to today's webinar. Today we'll be tackling webinar fatigue, things you need to know to make your virtual events more engaging and exciting, and how you can keep online events excellent and entertaining for your audience. So I'm here with my friend George. He's based in
Thank you, and apologies, I'm gonna have to turn. Yeah, I'm really sorry, my internet is for some reason being really bad today, even though it's normally fine, so I'm gonna have to turn my camera off. But yeah, hello everyone, great to be here, and hello Lou. Okay, cool. So first I'd like to, we'll do our introduction. So firstly, Lou, if you'd like to take a couple of minutes to introduce yourself.
Hi, yes, I'm Lou Greenwald. I'm head of business development for the Americas for Unibuddy. I've been with Unibuddy for about 2.5 years now. Before that, I had experience working in higher ed enrollment management for about 20 years in the Boston area at a few different universities. In that time, I worked a lot with international students. I also created, developed, and ran an alumni ambassador program. So Unibuddy was a perfect fit for me. I certainly hope you enjoy George and my presentation today on keeping webinars engaging. Over to you, George.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you. Yes, and hello everyone. So my name is George Highton. So I have worked at Unibuddy for, nearly 2 years now. I joined in November 2018, and this was my first job after actually graduating from university. So I was brought into the company as almost like a fresh perspective into the mind of a graduate student, and it's been a great journey so far. I've worked with partners of higher education all over the world, and yeah, it's been really great learning from other higher education institutions and working with such an amazing company and such a great team. So what me and Lou are going to do today is obviously we're going to be talking about online events and how to keep these engaging and how to keep these fun and interesting. And obviously this is a workshop, so it'll be great to see your questions, obviously in the comment section and all of the feeds on the live event. And we've also got a couple of quizzes as well. So again, it'll be great to have you all involved and answering those questions, because there also is a special prize. So keep your eyes out for that. But anyway, just to give a bit of a back foot before we go into our top tips for keeping online events engaging, we're going to look at where we are today. So obviously this year has been absolutely crazy in terms of what's gone on. It's been mental, to be honest. So the reason that students these days, online events is the key way to reach out to these students is because it suits how they interact and how they work and how they spend their time. So 82% of students are spending more time on their smartphone. I know the same. I can hardly ever get off my smartphone. And 58% of this time is actually being spent on social media, and 62% of the time is being spent on messaging services. And this is important because it shows exactly what students are currently doing today, how they're spending their time and how they're finding the best use of their time and how these resources will link to this. So for example, it makes sense for them to have a system that works on their smartphone. It makes sense for them to have an almost automatic messaging service because this is what they're used to. And this is why, for example, platforms like Unibuddy Live, but also Zoom have been really important. It's because they actually reach out and they actually fit what these students currently use today. So before this, the main strategies before COVID-19 for actually interacting with prospective students, there was really quite varied. For example, open houses and open days, they were quite common. I know a lot of university activity was based around filtering to these occasions. So for example, I know in the UK, for example, a lot of universities would have a big open day coming up where they invite loads of students. And then in preparation for that, and also to get more students to attend these, they would send a lot of emails, a lot of even in-person visits to colleges to help drive traffic to this and help drive more students to this. In line with that as well, they also use their student ambassadors as well on these open days, but also they might go out to meet other students, which unfortunately we cannot do today, obviously because of all the limitations that we have at the moment. But again, this is a very common way of actually interacting with prospective students. And again, social media posts, again, they were quite linked as well to open days, that students would actually see on their social media feeds, like, oh, this is cool, there's an open day coming up at this university. And again, this would be trying to get traffic to these as well. And as well as that as well, the sort of key digital aspects of this would also be chatbots. So for example, there might be a chatbot on a university website where you can ask questions, where you can get further information. And there also might be some live chats as well. But the main point as well, all of these were, I believe all of these, so for example, point 2, student ambassadors, point 3, social media posts, and even the chatbots, they were all based and they were all focused on getting as many students as possible to open days and to open houses. So I'm not sure if there's anything you'd like to add to that, Lou.
Well, again, I mean, if, you know, in admissions, what don't they do to try to meet students? You have the traditional college fairs. Campus visits are incredibly important because there's all sorts of data. If a student sets foot on your campus, they're much more likely to deposit and enroll. So again, getting students to campus is really one of the most important things that can happen in the application journey of a student. That's, for the most part, is off the table right now. And that's why, again, if we go back to the slide previously that George outlined, where, you know, over 80% of the students are actually getting their information using a smartphone, things like that. That's part of the challenge. And that's why your webinars have to be top notch and they have to be very exciting and engaging. The reason for that is because they have a lot of distractions around them. They're in their own little safe space at home and they're not on your campus. So you need to actually go above and beyond and really add some flair, some wow, some energy to your webinars to make them memorable, or any of your virtual events. So, okay.
All right, thank you, Lou.
Okay, and now here's some statistics. Just from March, we've been monitoring the data. What's been going on with our partners, and how have they made the transition over to this new virtual reality that we live in? So since March, we've had over 7,545 live events, Unibuddy live events since March. That marks a 900% increase in Unibuddy live events. I'm sure if you go back and count all the Zoom conferences, Zoom meetings, and Zoom webinars that you've played some role, you and your team have played some role, and then again, look at the number of those that were student facing. How many of those were to engage with students and really evaluate how did they go? What happened to those students? Did they take the next step? Are you able to track that? Again, we're happy to say with Unibuddy Live, you can do that. That's a huge benefit of one of our programs, of the platform. And again, the bottom number, 42% of prospects have signed up through Unibuddy Live. So when you're looking at where, you know, prospects source in, where did they come in and join? Again, you can look at, again, the numbers and the data that we have recorded. So again, some huge compelling numbers. Again, over 7,500 events, 900% increase, and 42% of prospects are signing up to these events. So they certainly are working.
So what myself and Lou came up with as a way to bring your live events to the next level, to keep them engaging, is we call it the big deal. So there's 3 parts to this. And again, if anyone's got anything they'd like to add into the chat, it'll be great to hear what your suggestions are, what you're currently doing, or what you think might work well. So the first part of this is Plan B. So I'm not sure if you'd like to go into this, Lou.
Yes, Plan B, things to know about. No one planned for 2020. Again, the last session I just saw about PR do's and don'ts, and really, how do you plan for things? Certainly the unknown, and that's what we're in right now. Everything right now, everything is Plan B. No one planned on this. So, what do you have for Plan C? Is this as good as it can be, or should be, or are you still evaluating and course correcting? And the answer is, of course, you're looking to see what works, what's been effective. You're trying some new things, and again, keeping in mind that, the B in Plan B also stands for what we've encountered in this endless Zoom fatigue and Zoom burnout, that a lot of these are boring. They're very static, they're very monotone. A lot of it is your audience being spoken to or spoken at. And really anything you can do to make it a two-way interactive, and that's what the I in big stands for, so I don't want to steal anyone's thunder, but that's what's coming up. Really making it engaging, making it exciting, and really delivering what you need to, and setting up your audience, your prospective students, for the next step. What will get them to take the next step? What is their call to action? And doing it in a fun and exciting way that really motivates them to say, okay, I'm ready to take this next step. The second item is Zoom burnout. Again, I think we're all suffering for that. I like to refer to Unibuddy Live affectionately as the remedy for Zoom fatigue, because again, we have a lot of other features and new features that can show you what our platform can do. It's a way to connect. It's a different way to connect. I feel it's a better way to connect. And it's something new and it's different. And when you have a webinar or an information session or anything virtual, what you want to do is leave something with your audience, a takeaway. And anything you can do to differentiate yourself from one of your competitor, other schools that you cross apps with, or really any other type of meeting, is that, okay, it is memorable. So what have you done to make your event memorable? So again, fight off Zoom fatigue, fight off Zoom burnout. And I don't mean to pick on Zoom so much, but again, what is there? Can you do better? And how can you deliver a better experience from your prospective students' perspective? And then item 3, breathtaking. And again, don't be breathtaking in a bad way, meaning, okay, this is boring. This is just, it's very flat. It's not very engaging. I'd really like to, feed off whoever's presenting's energy and really put that into action, put that into, okay, I'm going to complete my application. I'm going to send it in. I'm going to schedule a campus visit. I'm going to take one of these next steps that are really important in the cycle to get the student through the funnel, to make sure it's the best fit for them as well. So again, Plan B, don't be boring, fight burnout, and be breathtaking in a good way, not a bad way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree any more on all of them. But yeah, I think just as you said, it's been crazy this year. If you started the year doing your plans for the 2020 year, just no one could have known what was going to happen. So again, I think it's really important to keep within these themes, to make sure that you are keeping things interesting and that students and anyone really is actually going to want to attend your live events. Okay, so now we're on to our first quiz of this session. Quiz time. And this is a Halloween themed quiz. We've got 3 different questions. The last one is for a prize. But this one is to do with Halloween, because amazingly, I don't even know how it is Halloween next week, which means it's nearly November. But anyway, if you would just like to put your answer into the chat, and the first person to get it to do it will get a shout out. Unfortunately, Stuart, this one is not for a prize yet. That's the last question, but I love the enthusiasm. Okay, so here we go. Is a banshee likely to sing, scream, or whistle? So going in the B theme, is a banshee likely to sing, scream, or whistle? That was nice and quick. That was correct.
I see some answers, yes.
I think the first was...
Looks like Stuart.
Stuart, well done. I bet you wish that one was for the prize, but yeah, correct. It is a scream.
And an honorable mention to Kate Lotz. Almost Kate.
Well, well done. But again, the whole point of having quizzes is to keep it nice and fun and engaging. And this leads us on to our second part, which is infotainment, if you see what we've done there. So this is really not only to provide an informative and an interesting session that people are actually going to want to attend because they're actually going to learn anything. It's actually doing this in the right way that's actually entertaining, and it's going to make sure that people aren't just twiddling their thumbs, playing on their smartphones, for example, but they're actually giving you your full attention and they're actually engaging and they're like, oh, this is cool, I've learned a lot through this. So one way you can do that is firstly, straightforward, is to be interactive. So like we've done then, you can easily do a quiz question. This could be maybe linked to, for example, something on campus. It could be something to do with a course. It could be really to do with anything. But again, if you make this interactive, if you maybe give a prize, for example, this could be a higher education theme prize. It could be a hoodie, for example, for your institution. Then again, it's a really great way of thinking, oh, this is really fun. I want to answer this. And they're also more likely to remember the information as well. And there's another couple of ways you can do this. I know, Lou, you were mentioning to me there was a couple of bingo apps that you've used recently, which have been really fun to play with and they've been really useful.
Yes, again, I came in contact with some of these ideas. The bingo card, everyone loves bingo. There's several companies where you can get some free cards made up online. Bingocardmaker.com. Again, a quick search, you'll find a number of them. But what a great concept to do if you are trying to maybe set up a fun event for your prospective students, a virtual scavenger hunt where each box in that bingo card could be maybe one of the far reaches, one of the pages of your website where it'd say, okay, what is our stat for multicultural recruitment? What is enrollment? What is our, part-time tuition dollar, all these different little elements, and have your students search around for them for a prize. Again, it's going to give you more website traffic. It's going to give some information, some knowledge, some better understanding for your audience, but it's also going to be in a fun way. And again, who doesn't like prizes? Prizes and swag, stuff we all get. Well, we don't all get swag. And that's why prizes are really so valuable, because people will actually, go into battle for it and try to win and get very competitive, and it's great to see. Some other great applications, and I'd love to see you put some of them over in the chat thread. What have you used that's been valuable and effective? Unibuddy loves and embraces Kahoot. We love it. Kahoot is an online platform for quizzes, for multiple choice questions. It's great for virtual socials. We use that quite a bit, and it's a lot of fun. So I'd love to see some examples, if some of you could put them in the chat and share what's working for you. And we can certainly talk more about those as well. But again, whatever you can do to get engaged with your audience using some of these interactive polls, there's Slido, there's Pollster, there's all sorts of different platforms that you can use. Consider trying them out. I think you'll be happy with the result. And then again, sharing all of these things with a message or a story in a meaningful way that will provide context. Like here's a relatable experience. When I was a senior in high school, my school system went on strike for 6 weeks. And that seems like a really weird thing. And we weren't allowed on school for 6 weeks. So our summer was extended. I went back to school 2 days later. My school system, again, they were back up and running, but I developed mononucleosis and I was out of school for an additional 4 weeks. So when you look at it, my senior year really didn't begin till December. And I played the rest of the year playing catch up. So again, I was always behind the 8 ball. I thought it was the end of the world. But now fast forward to today and what students are going through today. This is not what they planned for. This is not what they expected, but it's how they react and how you can help them react by sharing experiences, saying, hey, this is your first time doing a college search. If this is all you know, maybe your brothers and sisters had a much different experience, but this is your time. So anything you can do to share something, to build an association so they feel, okay, well, you got through it, I'm sure I can get through it. And that's really where the power of sharing stories, whether it's peer-to-peer, student to student, or staff to student, to really build that reassurance that makes a connection that will allow the student to be better informed to take the next step. So again, that rounds out our infotainment eyes.
Yeah. Thank you, Lou. Yeah, and thanks everyone for posting your comments in the thread. It's great. I know, Stuart, you've been saying you've used some of your own games, such as Crystal Maze, both for, pardon me, internal teams, which as well as a great use of these systems to keep morale going and keep your staff engaged, obviously. And as well as this, there was a really, really great idea from Stephanie, is that you can actually send a bingo card prior to an event to build excitement, and you can say, you can come along to this and then we can do this. That's such a fantastic idea. So yeah, absolutely, I'd highly recommend to do this. And again, just to add to what Lou's saying about infotainment, it really, the item 3 about sharing a relatable experience is a really powerful one, because I think people listen to stories more than anything else. I know when I actually first started Unibuddy, I was really bought into the whole vision of the company because of what our CEO, Diego Farinara, said about how he started the company from his own experience, rather than just saying, oh yeah, I had this idea to make this company, so that's why Unibuddy exists. Rather than I was in this situation, I did this, and this led to that. And again, you could use that particularly well with some of your current students who maybe began their courses in difficult situations in similar times, as well as even staff, or even someone related to your institution in either way, just to give them someone to almost aspire to and listen to. And even if they take one thing away from that, that's a really good use of the time. But yeah, so we move on to the next quiz. And again, this one is not for the prize, that is the next one. But on the theme of online events, Zoom, which I'm sure everyone's sick and tired of now. I know I've probably had about 40,000 Zoom calls since lockdown. But what year was the first ever Zoom call made? Was it A, 2010, B, 2012, or C, 2014? Okay, I think B is the correct answer. I'm not sure who did that first.
Looks like Sarah.
Sarah, yeah. Correct, Sarah, well done. So 2012 was the first Zoom call. And again, I think this is really key to say that 10 years ago, Zoom didn't even exist. And now it must be one of the most common way that people spend their time at work and even socially. So again, it's just showing how fast moving these situations are, and how key it is to be on the ball, to keep ahead of the crowd, and how to make these things as engaging as possible. Okay, and then we're on to the final point, which is give. So the first part of this is about grabbing attention and actually creating excitement. And again, this is one of the problems I feel with online events. Well, not a problem as such, but something that I feel like people are missing is with these open days that commonly happen, they'd be really big events. There'd be tens to hundreds of thousands of pounds spent on these events, and they'd be a really good way to show off the institution. And just because the event's now online, that doesn't necessarily mean that the same amount of effort and the same amount of input almost is still there. Because if you think about it, this is still that same student giving their same amount of time to learn about your institution. And I think it's only fair to them to respect their time that you put full effort into this. And again, this goes back to making the events engaging and captivating. You want a reason for these students to attend. You want them to think, oh, wow, this is great. I'm so happy I joined this. And again, by giving information, by giving it in a way that appeals to them, by giving them key insights, key things that make them think, I really wish I could do this and take this further, then that's a great way to get them engaged and to get them really thinking about going to your institution, and to really make them feel like they're actually being valued, and they're actually someone that they are somebody that you want them to be part of your community and part of your institution.
Alrighty, and item number 2, give advice to gain confidence. So a great example of what this is giving practical advice that students can put into action. Again, putting yourself in a student's shoes. They might be in the local area. They might be, out farther away from you. They might be in a different region, different state, or a different country. What can you do to help them feel more confident, to give them more understanding, and really to create reassurance that, hey, this is a great fit school for you, but I can't tell you that. You need to determine that. I can give you all the information so that you can make the best informed decision. But again, I have to understand where you're coming from, what you need to know. So it's definitely an interactive exchange, but certainly arming your students with all the information, all the pertinent information, whether it's data, whether it's outcomes, whether it's anecdotal stories of students that have gone there and made that journey before them. These are all very important touch points that should certainly be part of a webinar, any type of online virtual event. It should definitely populate your social media ecosystem. Again, fresh content, where you can share pertinent information. I know, for example, one of our partners, Fordham University, they have a blog about what the deal is with IB credit. Now, again, for international students and students that may have studied at an international IB school, this is practical information. This is information that is relatable, that they can action upon, and they can determine, okay, they have an IB policy, I can get advanced standing credit. That would be something, a great piece of content to share with people, whether part of the webinar, the function, or just through one-to-one interaction. But sharing that type of information, it serves multiple purposes. It serves the purpose of saying, okay, this is our policy for IB, but it also sends a great message saying there are other students like you that have studied the IB here at our institution, and it sends a welcoming message saying we understand where you're coming from. And that alone will build confidence. So again, students that are confident will be happier when they land on campus. They tend to retain better, and they tend to share their stories with others. So anything you can do to build confidence, inform students, and let them make the determination about best fit schools for them, that'll certainly help with your funnel and grow your enrollment. And lastly, guidance for their next steps in the college journey. So again, what can you do to better inform them in the next steps? One of the examples from an earlier slide we had about things that we did to recruit before COVID was the campus tour, the campus visit. One of my former directors, he loved to say, you know, when he gave advice to students when they were doing their college search, and this will drive some people crazy, but I understand it. Just show up, don't schedule a tour, just show up on your own. Because that will be a very telling moment how that institution responds to your needs as an individual. Certainly I know that, you know, there's ambassador managers here that are cringing right now saying, no, you have to show up at the appointed time. We have tour guides, we have schedules for a reason, this, and this. But again, students and families do tend to drop in, you know, when they do, and that's all over the time, all over the map, based on they were in traffic, they couldn't find parking or what have you. But it is really true. It does send the message on how will that school react to you and address your needs, specifically your needs. You showed up 25 minutes late after the tour went out. They're probably not going to send you away, but they're probably going to, you know, make some accommodations so that you have a very positive visit experience. So again, I'm not advocating, just telling your prospective students just to show up whenever you'd like, but certainly do keep that in mind. But some other advice that you can share as kind of a takeaway, if you're having a conversation similar to what's it going to be like if you go visit a campus, basically, maybe after the formal tour, have your, you know, students suggest they come back on their own and take a campus tour self-directed and go to see places that weren't showed on the tour and start engaging conversations with other students that aren't tour guides and find out kind of like what their perspective is. So again, the more research they can do and how they do it is interesting as well. So that's kind of the give, you know, give advice, give some things to think about, give them another way to look at kind of what they're trying to achieve. Give them some thoughts on ways to apply, whether it's through early action or early decision or regular, and really give advice on, you know, how to visit a school, when to visit a school, and what they can realistically expect to get out of it. So that wraps up the BIG, the big deal, but we'd love to hear some of the advice that you might give over in the chats on how you share information. What are the main points or main things that some of your virtual events have offered so far? And how do you measure success for that? Like, how have you been able to tell, was that an effective webinar? Was that an effective video call that we had?
Yeah, thanks, Lou. I do agree. It's a really interesting point, actually measuring success online as compared to in-person events. And just to touch on your on the points you made on item 2 and 3, I know when I was a undergraduate student myself and I really didn't know what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, I would have really appreciated having that extra bit of advice and confidence that somebody was actually looking out for me. And in particular, I think for me, I'll put my hands up. I was quite not a lazy student, but I was very much a laid back. I was quite shy. I was quite nervous, and I wouldn't really put myself out there. So I know if I was attending a webinar or a live event today, and they made it clear to me that, well, thanks for joining our session today, but if you want to find out any more information about this, for example, what the campus looks like, as you mentioned, or if you want to find out what it's like to hear from one of our students, if you want to hear an event specifically about your course, then that would have really, really made a massive difference to me. And I think it would have really helped to improve my confidence, and also my decision making ultimately would have been better because of that. So absolutely, I completely agree. And as Lou mentioned, please, if anyone's got any tips or any suggestions about what they've done or how they measure success, then we'd love to hear them. But the moment you've all been waiting for, I know you have in particular, Stuart, is the final quiz. And this one's actually to win a prize, which is one of our limited edition hoodies. So this is a typing question, so it's not an A, B, or C. So who is this?
Everyone get ready.
Who is that baby?
And put your response in the chat thread. Stuart, it is not me, but thank you.
Lou.
Molly, it's not me. I would be in a cow suit. So
I think someone's got it. And most people have said Lou and George. No, that's not me.
Paul and Ramon said Jeff. So
no, that is George Clooney, a baby George.
Baby
Clooney.
George Clooney.
So Kristen.
We have a winner.
Lindenwood University in the United States. Congratulations and well done. So yeah, if anyone has got any questions at all, but then we'd love to hear, and we've got about 5 to 10 minutes left of this, so please, it'd be great to hear your thoughts. But again, what we're trying to highlight with this quiz as well is that if you do incentivize it with a prize, I'm pretty sure a lot of you would have been more keen and eager to type if there was a prize as compared to if there was not a prize. And again, it's a way to highlight that if you do give a little, you can just give a little prize or a little bit of motivation. And again, it will go a long way to actually helping engagement along those lines. And the prize was a Unibuddy hoodie from the event today, which is really jealous because I really want one.
Well, and thank you, Stuart, for saying that we're both very engaging. But we'd like to hear also what else you like. Oh, we don't have drink vouchers. I'm sorry. I'm just reading the thread. See, now we're having fun. People are loosening up a little bit, and that's good. But we'd love to hear kind of some thoughts on some of the events that you've done in the chat and what's worked. Again, some of those apps that we mentioned: Kahoot, Pollster, Bingo Card Maker.com. These are all different approaches that, again, you know, if you're from the admissions office or the marketing communication, these are things that you might be able to use as part of your tactics for this year's strategy. Also great for student life, for orientation programs, for team building with groups of students, as well as team building for your ambassadors. So again, if you do have ambassadors that are virtual ambassadors, team building with them is just as important, so that, again, you can develop camaraderie and just other ways to engage with prospects, but certainly with your own ambassador teams as well. So
yeah, absolutely. There's been some good suggestions in the chat. I know, for example, Maria has said, what about lunch vouchers or drink vouchers? Absolutely. You could, it doesn't have to be a big price to incentivize as such. It can be something really simple. And again, you could do something interactive. I know as a company, when Unibuddy were testing out our live event platform, we did a cooking show with some of our staff that work here. And it's something really simple. It was something that really didn't take a lot of effort as such, but again, it gave a lot out. So if you could maybe do an interactive lesson, for example, you could do a taster session of what it's like to be a student. You could have almost a sit-in and day of the life of a student. Then again, these are really great ways to actually further show yourself as what the institution is really like, and help to really increase confidence and help to increase awareness as well.
Great. We've got some other recommendations. I see code names. I see Scribble.io. Great suggestions. All different fun things you can do. And we will have a virtual goodie bag with, again, the recording of this session. And certainly, if you would like more information, feel free to reach out to George and myself. And again, the rest of our team and some others will be over in the virtual coffee station. So certainly we can continue the conversations there as well. So.
Yeah, thanks very much, everyone. And yeah, as Lou said, we'll be about in the speakers lounge. That'd be great to hear from you. If you have any questions, please just message us on there, or our email addresses are also there. And thanks very much for taking part in our workshop.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Best of luck this year.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Goodbye.